This is very personal work for me.
Politics,
I believe I was called to
sex,
tell my story, use my voice, be a
Gay
voice
people.
for the community, to speak
Black
to
people.
and for a community of people
The
that's
underdog.
been ignored, denied,
love,
overlooked.
relationships, religion,
This is my life's work.
religion.
I want to use words to uplift,
Every
heal,
single
inspire, encourage.
Do something different. Every Monday at 10. Good day, thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. This is So Much to Say, and I am Craig, the writer Stewart, and I have two very special guests here today. I'm so excited about this conversation. We are calling this show Supporting Black Business or Nah. So the germ of this idea came from a conversation that I was having with some of my friends in my personal circle after I had posted on my social media the importance of supporting Black business. And I'd posted that at the height of what was happening with the police brutality in the Black community. And I was talking about the importance of divesting, redistributing this pain that Dr. Martin Luther King spoke about, you know, putting our funds, putting our money into Black banks, Black-owned banks. But what ended up happening was a conversation, a real conversation about why it becomes difficult to put our money in Black-owned banks. And part of that is because Black-owned banks don't typically have, they're usually smaller, so they don't typically have 24-hour 800 numbers where you can contact someone if there's a problem with your account or you lose your bank card or whatever the case is. There are a lot of fees attached to bank accounts with smaller banks because they don't have the convenience. And so you're paying every time you use a foreign ATM, and the list just goes on. The conversation came to a head when a very close friend of mine learned that she had squirrels in her attic. If you know anything about squirrels being in your attic, there are many steps to the process in terms of removing them from the house. So the first step is you have to put traps in. You have to go in, remove the squirrels. Then you have to remove the nest if they have gotten to the point where they've created a nest in your attic. But then when you release the squirrels, you have to take them away from the house. You can't just let them out right outside because they will find their way back. And then the final step, of course, is to close off their entryway. So, of course, she was vexed and had no idea how to get these squirrels out of her house because they were waking her up first thing in the morning, like 7 o'clock. That was her alarm clock, okay? So I said to her, well, listen, speak to one of your neighbors because surely you're not the only person in your neighborhood that's having a problem with squirrels. So sure enough, she reached out to one of her neighbors who typically supports Black-owned businesses. Coincidentally had the same problem. He had squirrels in his house as well. So what they did was they had consulted a Black company. And because they live like 2 doors apart from each other, the company decided that they would do a 2-for-1 kind of special. They came out, they began the process at my friend's house. They took pictures, they showed her the pictures to let her know that there were definitely squirrels and there were definitely nests. And they began the process of removing the squirrels. So what they have to do is they have to come back once they go through the entire process, and they have to make sure that the squirrels, in fact, are gone. And so you don't have to pay additional fees as long as it happens within 3 months. Well, sure enough, probably 6 weeks or a month right after it happened, the squirrels came back. She had already paid the guy the balance of the money, and this Negro never came back. She's been calling him. She's been texting him. He says he's going to come. He doesn't show up. So to help me discuss this, I have Kwame. He works directly with Candy Coated Entertainment. Of course, that's Candy Burris from the Real Housewives of Atlanta. So he basically handles a lot of her business. And then we have Dr. Aja Nichols, which is my dentist that I'm excited about. She's located here in Atlanta, or Smyrna, Georgia, I should say. It's Lifestyle Dentistry. And part of the reason why I wanted to have you here is because because I've only visited you twice. And I actually found her through Groupon. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And so I checked it out. I had no idea that you were black or black owned. I just wanted to find a dentist that wasn't too far from me. I looked at the reviews, I read the reviews. And so I said, okay, let me try this one. So I went over, it was so professional. I was so moved by the experience that I actually wrote about it after I left. I actually posted on, what was it, Yelp or Yahoo or something like that? I think it was Yelp. And not long after that, I had posted on my social media, on my Facebook, that I'm really trying to be better about making a concerted effort to support black businesses. I want to go out of my way to do that. So with that being the foundation, what's your perception? What's your immediate knee-jerk perception? Now, they gave him a little something to drink because I want him to be honest. What's your knee-jerk reaction about black business? Not your business per se, but supporting black businesses, patronizing black businesses. What's your perception?
So my immediate perception is, I have to be honest, a lot of times I feel guilty because most of the time black businesses are not my first go-to, and I think it's just based off of personal experience. Although, like you, I feel it is important for me to start making it a point to support black businesses. I just kind of find that when I do that, the service kind of leaves a lot left to be desired. So I guess my first initial reaction would be lack of customer service.
Okay, and Dr. Nichols.
So I honestly would have to say the same thing. I recently, and probably like the past 2 years, have started to trying to make a concerted effort as well. And I find myself saying, oh, I need to find a professional black, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Where in reality, I have never said I need to find a professional white. It's always just,
right,
a good business,
Uh-huh.
And so I got really present to saying that, like, why is it that I have to say, or we, because I've had conversations with friends, we have to say professional hairdresser, professional CPA, accountant. And it's because we all feel that there was a lack of customer service surrounding a black-owned business.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I've had this conversation with my mom so many times. In fact, I was telling her in preparation of this show, we were talking yesterday, and she was like, "Well, the thing is, you just can't deal with black businesses. I mean, because they just aren't gonna do right." And da 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 da. But I want to try to reprogram the way that I think and the way that I approach black businesses, because I'm trying to figure out if, in fact, that is the case, or if that's just my anticipation. Am I going into it with the expectation that the service is going to be subpar, that the product is going to be subpar, or if I have an issue with the business or the service or the product and I have to come back to that business and say, listen, this is what happened with this, are they going to shift blame and say, oh, well, that's not something we can do, that's out of our hands? I mean, I can think of several instances where I have tried to support a business. In fact, there was a restaurant not far from here, won't mention their name, not just because I don't want to disparage them, but because I don't want to promote them either. But I went to this place, and I was with two friends, and they had raved about this restaurant. They both ordered the same dish. They ordered a chicken dish, and I, in turn, ordered the steak. Well, first, they came with all three of us having the same chicken dish, and I said to the server, I said, well, no, I didn't have chicken. I had the steak. And he said, no, you had the chicken. I said, no, I had the steak. And so he said, and he kind of like looked at me, and then he finally went on and took it back, and he brought them their chicken. And then they were almost done their food. I was starving. They brought out like a seafood soup or something for me to kind of munch on, to kind of hold, complimentary. So I ate that. But of course, when you're hungry, I don't want no damn soup. I want my food. So I'm eating the soup. No. I asked for the manager. So the manager is a black guy. Okay. He's sitting over at the bar watching the game. Let's just stop that. He's watching the game. So he's watching the game, and so I see the server go over to him and ask, tell him that I wanted to speak to him. So he kind of looks over like I was just disturbing his game, and like he really didn't want to come over to see what the hell I wanted. So he kind of took his time coming over. So he finally strolled over, and he said, how can I help you? And I was like, yeah, well, how you doing? I said, this is my first time here. I've never been to this restaurant. And it was not packed at all. Like literally it was us and maybe two other tables. Mm-hmm. and those two tables only had 2 people at each of those tables, so it was not packed at all. And so he was like, well, what seems to be the problem? And I said, well, I ordered the steak. And when he first came out, he thought that I had the chicken. I said, I don't have a problem with the server at all. I said, I have a problem with the service. I said, I'm hungry and I'm waiting for my food. They're completely done with their food, the friends that I came with. And he said, well, what did you have? And I said, well, I had the steak. He said, well, it takes a minute for steak to come out. So he basically shifted it to me like it was my problem. And so I said, well, listen, I go to Houston's all the time. How do they manage to time the food so that everybody's food come out at the same time? And as I was saying that, he turned and walked away. I sent the food back, and they were like, no, just go ahead. We'll take care of it. I don't even want it because I didn't want them to think that I was just complaining because I wanted it for free. I was starving. I sent that steak back. I did not pay for it. I did not eat it. I didn't even touch it. The only thing I had there was that soup. And you know damn well I didn't pay for the soup. And so I ended up leaving. And so I don't want to think that every single business is that way and that we always shift blame. And I know that there are factors in place. Like we don't always have the resources to hire enough staff. Or, so sometimes we have staffing issues. But what I don't like is a lack of accountability or when a business shifts the blame. Because there's another restaurant around here. Love the little place. It's a nice little restaurant. And I've taken probably 6 or 7 people to the restaurant to eat, and I like them a lot. It's a Black woman that owns it, but the ambiance is amazing. I've taken several people there, but the problem that I have with this place is she doesn't have enough staff. And so sometimes I'm sitting in there, and I'm like waiting for my food, and I'm looking, and then here's the other problem that they have. They don't have enough ventilation. They need a hood. Like, I'm in there choking, trying to talk to whoever I'm there with. And my thing is, I understand that you may not have the resources to hire enough people because you're just starting out. But then that's when you say, listen, you get your aunt, your cousins, or somebody to come help you, you know what I mean, to keep your service going. And that's basically,
Like going back to, we need a professional, this and that. It's all based on our experience with it. It's not like we've had great experiences and now all of a sudden we want a professional Black whatever. It's when I used to go to get my hair done, hairstylist an hour late, come in eating, on the phone, leaving to take a break to go talk on the phone some more or eat, and then I'm in the hair salon for 8 hours.
Right.
Like, that's a no-go for me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm busy now. When I was, in high school, college, I ain't have nothing to do.
Right.
So I got stuff to do now. So that can't happen.
Right.
And so we it's because of our experience. So just like stereotypes are there for a reason. It's because enough
it's
people,
built off of some truth.
Exactly.
And here's the other thing. How much of that do you think ties back to desegregation? Because I think that what happened is that on your notes?
I have slavery written down.
Yeah, I think that some of that reaches back to desegregation because there was a time that we couldn't go into certain businesses. And then when that was lifted and we felt like we were missing something that was in those white businesses. So then all of a sudden we started supporting these white businesses and we forget about the little mom and pop Black businesses. But one of the things that happened recently that I wanted to kind of infuse into this conversation too was the whole Shea moisturizer. Are you guys familiar with that whole thing happened? Well, for the people who are listening who may not be aware of what happened, the company is a Black-owned company. They've been around for about 25 years, and Black women basically built this company using it as a natural hair product. But what happened recently is they released a commercial. It wasn't even a commercial because it wasn't on television. It was an ad. And I think it posted on like social media. And what happened was this particular ad had all white women. They had one Black girl, but she was so fair-skinned and had such wavy hair, like she almost looked like she probably was biracial or could be something else. And so much backlash occurred on social media after that, and a lot of Black women started talking about boycotting it. Well, last night I was watching an interview with the founder. I think his name is Rich Dennis. He was on The Breakfast Club out of New York, and he was talking about how they're just trying to grow their brand, and they're not shifting, they're not leaving Black women. But what I was saying in a conversation is instead of him taking that product that he used to attract Black women and basically promote it and said that this was a natural product, natural hair product. He, instead of now trying to say and package it and say, oh, well, it's for all races and white women can use it too, he should have just created a sister product, a different company under a different name. And the only way you would have known that it was the same company is if you turned that bottle over on the back and you saw the fine print on the bottom. The question is, why do we sometimes feel like we need to attract the white dollar to sustain? Like, are we not enough?
Well, two things. First thing I want to go back to that, but I think when you go back to the times of slavery and black people being put in a position where they're forced to serve, I think that created a certain type of mentality or kind of like anti-servant kind of approach to where when black businesses are created, they don't seem to have a true understanding of what it means to serve someone.
Yeah.
So I feel like when they're in a position when they're being told that you're a waiter or you're a server, I think in a way that kind of triggers back to, well, serving you. Like, I don't serve you, as opposed to not seeing the pride in being able to provide a great service.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So I think that kind of comes to it. In regards to your question of not feeling that we're enough, sometimes I don't feel like we're enough because I feel like we tend to go with where the wind blows to what's popular. Fickle. So we don't have a lot of brand loyalty. So I understand why a lot of brands don't necessarily, they will exploit our dollars, but they don't necessarily build a long-standing product that's beneficial to us for black people because they don't feel like we're gonna support it. Like we don't. Our money goes to entertainment. You know what I'm saying?
Because that was my next question. Because to tie into what you were saying, in terms of brand loyalty, because we're loyal to certain things.
Right.
We're loyal to cars and Gucci and Louboutin and all that. So it's like we're loyal to, I guess, like luxury brands and things like that. So, I mean, the point that I want to also make is, I think what happens with us too is the level of service that we typically get from a black owner is different from the level of service that they give to a white customer. Too familiar. Like, I cannot stand to go into a business and because I'm black and you're black and I'm standing there and I see you grinning and gushing at these white women or this white man or whatever, and you giving your top of the line service, and then when I step my black ass up there, you looking at me like, hey, how you doing? And it's just not, you're not putting that effort. I have literally said to people, listen, you gonna give me the same level of service that you just gave that white woman. You know what I mean? Because, I think that we just get so familiar. But on the flip side of that, there are instances where I've gone into white businesses, and I'm sure we've all gone into white businesses and felt like the service was subpar or it was really bad service. And I think that it happens more often than we classify it, because I think instead we categorize it as, oh, they were racist. No, their asses just had bad service. You know what I mean? Sometimes it was just really bad service. So are we sometimes too familiar and too comfortable with each other? Do you feel like sometimes the service that we offer each other isn't the same level of service that they, black business owners will give to a white customer? Or
it's definitely not. I mean, when you come to my table and you say, "What's up, bro?"
Right.
Like, I already know that you feel comfortable.
Right.
Not welcome to such and such. What would you like, sir? So when you start off like that, I already know. And it's funny because now I'm in a situation to where I'm a part of a new brand that's providing the same service.
Exactly.
So it's just interesting to be kind of thrown in a co-manager position for an establishment and deal with serving our black people. And it's, to be honest with you, there's some days where, now trust me, the business is doing great. And it's different for us because it's not only, it's based off of a lot of the drive is coming from the popularity of the faces that are behind the brand. But at the same time, there's some days when I'm just like, I have to get myself prepared to just go in there and deal with black people. Like, seriously, because I just noticed that if you have a valid concern or an issue with the service, and oftentimes if I'm there on the floor, I'm being asked to go and kind of have the confrontation, if you will. But it's like, I realized that when I step to the table, my goal is to correct anything that was wrong. Your goal is to complain. So it's like, there's nothing that I can say or do, and I realize that you really just want to have an issue. Right. and it's tiring.
Yeah,
You know,
it is exhausting.
It really is tiring. But I do think that we do not give ourselves the same quality of service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to that point, I think that like in your business, Dr. Nichols, as a dentist, do you find that often your friends or family members expect free service, like to come in and have their teeth cleaned? Oh, girl, you can just go ahead and whiten my teeth. Like, it ain't costing you. Why you can't just whiten my
Right.
teeth? You know what I mean? And then, like, in terms of you dating, do you feel like you have to offer cleaning services to the men or women that you may be dating? You know, like, do you feel compelled to say, okay, well, I'll go ahead?
I don't, and the reason is because I'm a pretty direct person.
Mhm.
Okay, so family and friends actually are like, yeah, we're not coming in to ask you for anything, and it's because they know my journey.
Right.
I don't have a problem telling them that.
Right.
Yo, this piece of equipment costs $60,000.
Yes.
You know, and so I'm pretty candid with
Right,
them.
right.
On the flip side, I'll have strangers walk in.
Really?
And you know, Doc, I mean, what can you do? Like, I really want to get this done, and I'm like, you really need it done.
Wait, so these are people that had an appointment.
These are people who had an appointment, maybe have found me on Google,
Uh-huh.
Groupon, whatever. And literally, yeah, and you know, and I sit there, and you know, and I'm definitely never rude by
Right,
any means,
right,
you know.
right.
But I do say, well, what is it? What can I do to work with you? You know, and I've told a couple of patients, like, you know, I don't work for free.
Right.
You know, so I've yet to have, and don't get me wrong, everybody thinks dentistry is expensive anyway.
Mhm.
Okay, so I haven't per se had a white person come in like, Doc, hook me up. But it is across the board with me where people are like, that's a lot of money. And I politely say, because I honest to God, am not in it for the money. I love what I do,
Yeah.
right?
I can tell that. I can tell that about you.
Do I have to make money to survive?
Absolutely, right.
You know, but I tell them, hey, do your research,
Mhm.
okay? Come back here once you've done your research, because you'll see that my fees are the lowest in our area,
Mhm.
okay? I'm a startup.
Mhm.
I had to start from somewhere. I couldn't start as high as,
Right.
you know, everyone else around me. And I've had multiple people come back like, Doc, I did. Come on, let's do it, you know?
Right.
And so it's a different demeanor. It goes back to that familiarity. So,
Right. Too familiar.
yeah, so a white patient will say, like, you know, hey, this is a lot. I don't know. Like, can we work, you know, something out?
Uh-huh.
Versus a black patient be like, Doc, I mean, listen, like, you know, like,
We're so comfortable with each other.
We
And
are.
I don't think we really understand the gravity of a discount. Like, you're asking a business owner, a new business owner at that, for a discount. You know what I mean? You're crippling the business. And I mean, even as an entrepreneur myself, like, I started off with a greeting card business. Well, before that, I had done a play, but I had started off with a greeting card business. And I remember, you know, having friends that were like, oh my God, these are so good. Oh, let me take one of these. Let me take this card. I'm like, no, where's your $4 or $5 or whatever it was at the time? Oh, I can't just have this?
No.
Are you crazy? You know what I mean? Like, but then I would also have people that would say, oh, I just had to go and get some birthday cards for such and such. Like, they would literally pass me, wouldn't call me to say, hey, I want to get some greeting cards or whatever. They would literally go to a store. But these were the same people that wanted free greeting cards for me. Same thing when I produced my play. Oh, you have any comp tickets, any free tickets? Yeah, now that I wrote 2 books. Oh, well, can I get a copy of your books? I'm going to send you my address so you can send me one of those books.
Right.
Like,
Right.
these books don't print themselves. I'm buying plane tickets, traveling. Like, are you serious?
The actual stranger, like, that picked up so fast. I was like, oh.
Where
like,
there
you
were
know?
people that came that
Yeah.
you didn't know.
And here's another thing why I don't understand how a black business can't, how do I want to say this, can't provide a great customer service, because reviews will make you or break you.
Yeah.
You can have 1,000 great reviews
Mhm.
and one person pissed off leave
Yeah.
a review.
Yeah.
And
Because I'm good for writing
and
a
now
letter.
it's like, oh, Doc sucks. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
And it's not that at all. Even when I go places and it's a horrible service, I'm like, either you don't need this business,
Right.
or you definitely don't own this business. You
Right,
don't know the
yeah.
devastation that you're causing.
Speaking of that, like, I've been in instances where I've seen young black folks working at fast food places, or they're working customer service in a clothing store, wherever they are. And sometimes I am so annoyed at the level of service and just the level of sometimes ignorance that we have for one another. It's like they don't even care that I'm standing there. Like it's like, oh, that's a black guy. It's good. They'll keep talking on their phone. They'll be cursing, talking to they'll be cursing, talking to their coworkers or whatever, or may even curse in a statement talking to me. Not like cursing at me, but cursing while talking to me. Like they're just so comfortable, and I'm just like, this is really a problem. Now I will say that there are definitely businesses that are on top of their thing. I mean, this is not across the board, but I think that if I had to really weigh it, I would have to say that 9 times out of 10, if I've supported a black business, and again, I've been doing this since 2002 when I first built my first website, and it was a black company that I was trying to work with, and typically I've had bad service. I've had to complain. There was a bunch of blame being shifted. So I was trying to have a website done many years ago, and it was supposed to be complete on this particular date. It wasn't done that date. And then he just kept telling me, oh, well, you know, I have a contractor that's working on me, and, you know, he just didn't have it done yet. And, you know, but it was vital for the website to be done, because this was for the play. It was for the production. And so, I mean, he didn't have the cast bio up. I mean, the show was literally up. But I simply refuse to support a business simply because it's black owned. That's just not enough for me anymore. And the same goes for television and film. I'm not going to support a film project simply because it's produced by black people or it's starring black people. That's how mediocrity has slipped in. And that's why we see some of the garbage that we see on television. And so that's just where I am with it. Okay, any final words?
Know your worth.
Call me.
Ditto that.
All right, Dr. Nichols, what's your Instagram?
It is Lifestyle Dentistry, ATL, and follow us on Facebook at Lifestyle Dentistry in Smyrna, Georgia.
Kwame?
It is for Kwame, the number 4, KWAME.
And I am Craig the Writer Stewart on Instagram as well as Facebook. And the website address for the books and to contact me and to follow the podcast is www.craigthewriterstewart.com. This podcast was brought to you by Green to Clean, professional carpet cleaning service. Visit them at g2clean.com.